Hi there, this is a video about how to make raised beds from pallet wood. And before I start, I must say that the wood I used here is marked HT, which is high temperature processed. I recommend that you look at the woods and don't get the ones that are chemically treated. So as you can see in my garden, there's big chunks of wood here. It's mixed in with the wood chip, and the birds come along and scratch at it, the blackbirds, and then it interferes with my lawn mowing. I can do this one day, and I'll give you an example here. I didn't realise it, but the boards didn't go down to the ground, and the birds have got in underneath the timbers. So, and it's made a mess everywhere. Now, one thing I'm considering is that these are the tools that I use to make these pallets, raised beds. These are essentials making it include. So I don't think that probably a lot of people, a lot of gardeners have this equipment lying around. I'm an old retired tradesperson. So there's a compromise that can be compromised and make do with what you think you can use, but there's some essentials here that you can't go without, like the sledgehammer, the tomahawk axe, the blocks of wood, the hammer, an ordinary claw hammer, which is used to denail the boards, so on. The saw here. The saw here was essential. Now I used about 20 pallets of wood. Now let me explain that when you come into my garden, I had concrete edges, and the footpath was these concrete blocks. So I made a decision to take the concrete blocks out and make raised beds. Now I used about 20 pallets on this project. I've got some angles here that just on here. So one of the first things doing is pulling the pallets apart. Now it takes about 10 or 15 minutes for each pallet to pull apart. See if I can show you the angles that I make it a bit more interesting. 10 or 15. And when I got the pallets, I'm trying to get the largest pallets possible, and after I'm going to show you something here too. Now these were too short, but I think it can be seen how I put this together, and the reason for sorting the timbers out is there's different sizes and different thicknesses and different lengths. But the idea was to, you can see what I'm doing here is that I'm putting in pegs and then screwing to the pegs. And this particular sides have four timbers which go around. The old I think I'm using very thick timbers, and they're driven into the ground a foot and a half to make this very solid, and see if it lasts a while. So, but these are the pegs that I would use, but these are too short, and I use the tomahawk to make sharp points on them to drive into the ground. So it's quite a bit of work in that respect. As I said, you will notice in these pallets different sized woods, and I use quite large timbers for the pegs just to give it longevity, give it years in the ground before they perish. But this is the result. I can show you. This is the result of a raised bed garden using pallet wood. I've made it more interesting. Not a squared, a rectangular box. There's walkways at different angles around, and there's, in this vegetable garden, there's a keyhole, as you can see here. So I probably used around about 400 or 500 screws, galvanised screws, but you can get them cheaper. You can get screws cheaper if you use the Phillips head screws, zinc, but they're about half the price of these. But these are galvanised, and I haven't cut the tops off. The pegs, they're really truly in the ground at least a foot and a half. They're just rising, and as I was, it's not, it's okay for me. I'm not interested. It's okay. It's okay. I'm very pleased with what this is. I've seen some, and I've seen some really stunning raised beds made with lots of materials. But this is a garden that I hope that raised beds. I hope that anyone can build, and the pallets are free. The pallets are free, and after removing the pavers, as I showed earlier in this video, I put 4 to 8 inches of wood chip all throughout the footpaths. I think the reason, one of the reasons I needed raised bed garden was that this is an established garden. I built about 12 or 14 years ago, and like all gardeners, I needed to rejuvenate the soil, and as I'm doing that, the height of the soil was getting higher and higher and higher until it was just overflowing onto onto the pavers. So I took the pavers out and filled it with wood chips, and eventually those wood chips will break down the soil. Thanks for watching. All the best with your project.